And now, for Agents to the 1%, please welcome back TRD Senior Reporter and Residential Bureau Chief, Catherine Kalergis, and panelists, Nina Golden-Tayer, Jill Hertzberg, Riley Smith, and Julian Johnston.
City streets you used to walk along with me.
Just telling me where to sit.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So I'm Catherine Kalergis, a senior reporter and residential bureau chief at The Real Deal. I'm happy to introduce our speakers, the agents to the 1% of buyers. We have Julian Johnston of the Corcoran Group, Riley Smith, who's with Compass, Jill Hertzberg of the Jill Zeter Group, and Douglas Sullivan agent Dina Golden-Tayer. So there's been a lot of talk about the luxury residential market in Miami. We all know the pandemic frenzy is over, but we're still seeing record sales, some involving celebrities like David and Victoria Beckham, in the ultra high-end segment of the market. But sales volume is low. So what's going on with pricing?
I think pricing has held firm this year. Obviously, the market peaked in Q1, Q2 in 2023. And the Fed said we're going to cool the housing market by raising interest rates, and that happened. Miami was somewhat immune from a lot of it. The rest of the country went down, I think, a lot more. And I think this year, as we haven't seen much more inventory, prices have sort of plateaued.
Anyone else?
Oh, you got another one?
Are sellers willing to reduce their prices? Is that even an issue?
I don't think it's so much a question.
By the way, this is just Julian.
I don't think it's so much a question of asking prices, because everyone talks about asking prices dropping all the time. If you actually look at sold prices, 2023 over 2024, they have come down. Asking prices, some of them are aspirational. They've seen some big drops, but the sale prices, I think this year, especially with the low inventory in the single-family home market, you're seeing sellers really holding firm on price because land hasn't really dropped on average on any of the good neighbourhoods below 1,000 a square foot for land, and construction really hasn't dropped more than 1,000 to 1,500 a square foot. So inherently, they have costs they've got to cover.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing Coconut Grove, Coral Gables. The land is probably the hottest segment of our market, right?
Land is the hottest?
Land is definitely the hottest segment that we're seeing. Everybody came in, they bought their new constructions, all that's been bought up. But the Grove in general, lucky for me, luxury comes in lots of different styles. And I think in the Grove, we have this understated style, people coming there for the schools, the neighborhoods, a different lifestyle. But in the last 5 years, I mean, the luxury market there obviously has exploded.
Is it slow? Have you noticed that it's been a little slow lately, or?
In the luxury market? Dina and I are going to answer together. You ready? 1, 2, 3. No. So I can say in the luxury market, in the uber luxury, there's not that many amazing properties. So the buyers that are coming in and looking for that are buying them and paying for them on Indian Creek, on Star Island, and all these beautiful waterfronts you have in the Grove. We just sold the one on 18 Lagores. It was a record-breaking sale for Miami for $122 million. And that was interesting because it was land, and the man's going to build there. So I think in the uber luxury market, it's pretty strong. And if you have anything like that, most likely it will sell.
What do you think, Dina?
I think the market is where you want it to be, right? So I choose to focus on my successes, the listings that perform well, the buyers that get a great deal. If I focused on the listings that I didn't sell, and there are plenty of those, or the buyers for whom I could not secure a deal, then I would paint a different picture. But ultimately, we're all salespeople. We're here to cheer our market on, and it's certainly amazing. So I think the market is great in every price point, depending on pricing and condition of asset.
What are some of the listings that you all would not take? What characteristics do they have?
Usually it has something to do with the location or just being grossly overpriced.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah,
A
I
listing-
think price is definitely an issue. I think if it's sitting long, it's price, because otherwise it's definitely moving, at least in the Grove. And inventory is our biggest problem.
I think the market tells every single seller what they're worth. And it's our job to communicate with them, let them go out and put the price they want and their wish list, and then stay in touch with them every 30 days to show them the market's not responding. So it's a relationship there. And sometimes if people don't respect that relationship, those are the ones that you don't stay with.
There's definitely, although volume is low, there's a lot of demand. Anything that's priced well, Dean is right, you can sell it in 30 days. It's just a matter of being priced well to the market.
What about schools, proximity to schools? I know when we talked before, that was something that you all agreed on, that that's driving a lot of decisions. What areas are the hottest? How is that affecting deals, whether they close or not?
I mean, I think Coconut Grove, obviously, I think we were joking when we were on the call earlier before this, that if we could build a couple schools, we'd be in business, right? The Grove is definitely driven by the schools. I think we see a lot of people coming to Miami and then figuring that out. And now, that's really elevated, certainly that whole Bayshore Drive and Main Highway corridor, all the waterfront there. Everybody seems to want to be able to walk their kids to school. The walkability in schools kind of go together, especially in the Grove.
And not just from other markets, we're seeing people leave the beach to go to the Grove for schools as well. And one new trend I've lately heard about was people from the beach getting a weekender, or really more of a weekday spot, like a placeholder in the Grove for days when they can't commute even back to the beach, which is a new trend I really haven't heard of. People picking up a weekdayer in the Grove to not always do the commute back to the beach.
And I've seen those people who live in the Grove, they'll call us to get an apartment on the beach. So on the weekends, they can go to Fisher or Surf Club or somewhere like that. So I think that what happens is everybody has something that's most important to them, whether they be close to Brickell or downtown or Coconut Grove, and then they will make adjustments in their life and maybe buy something like you said in the Grove or on the beach, right?
There's definitely a lot of demand for the schools. I know that in Ransom, for example, one of my clients from LA, he's been trying for 2 years to get his child into year 8 this year, and there were 88 applicants for 8 spaces. That shows you how intense the competition is. And he's a $40 to $60 million buyer, and he will not buy here until he gets into one of the schools. And I think before, he was considering 3 years ago Miami Beach, and the commute to Ransom was 30 minutes. Now it's 50, 55, an hour. And they don't want their children going an hour there and an hour back. So the schools have become far more important.
I think a silver lining, though, is some people are starting to put their kids in public schools and finding that they're actually really good public schools on Miami Beach, in the Gables, in the Grove, and they're starting to realize that's a really wonderful thing. So.
Or they're homeschooling.
Are you seeing that? Yeah, homeschooling. What about inventory? Obviously, like you've all talked about, the quality, most expensive homes, those are kind of taken, right? So how are you finding new inventory, and what is your strategy there?
I can say that finding new inventory, one of the critical pieces is what you all are doing here today, is networking and speaking to Dina and finding out what she has, or Riley or Julian. They have pockets, they know things and that I don't know. And so keeping these relationships that you all have here, people will talk about, there are listings we can look up, but things that aren't on the market, and try to work those deals together. Those are the biggest sources for our team. I mean, besides cold calling and following up with your own clientele.
No one's really moving away from Miami at the moment, so I don't see a lot of inventory coming. So it's working with a lot of the developers because, as they said, land sales recently, the developers have just in the last 12 months got back into new construction. So they're probably 18 months away, but some of those houses are already getting interest, like a pre-construction sale.
Yeah, I think you really have to, like she said, you have to beat the bush. You have to talk to everybody. There's a huge sort of pocket listing, coming soon, private exclusive with Compass, sort of world out there where people are testing the market quietly. But I think if you're really looking for someone that's not there, it's probably better off trying to just talk to the key players in whatever neighborhood you're looking for to see if they have anything.
I think it's also important to focus on the traditional ways that we get business, and expired listings, I mean, they're happening every day, right? So if you're working with an expired, you know they've already committed to selling, they've already signed with an agent and it didn't sell, so they're such an easier target to get a listing from because they're usually upset, hey, why didn't my place sell? So we have certainly been focused on expireds because some agents will take listings at a certain price. We all do, thinking, hey, the market will support it, and for whatever reason it doesn't sell. And we all know being the second agent is always a more favorable position because you get the more motivated owner, you get the better price.
It's definitely a competitive market. Riley and I were joking, and I won't mention the address or whatever, but there's one, on the expireds, it's competitive these days, so you've got to keep at it, because this one client had 55 agents call in 2 or 3 days, and the following week another 40, and they kept on and on. They interviewed at least 10 of the brokers, so you've got to keep at them and keep following up.
What he didn't tell you was the guy was from Houston, so I rolled up with my golf cart and my hat, and he rolled up in his pickup truck with his cowboy hat, and it was game over. So.
Since pricing has obviously gone up so dramatically in the key neighborhoods, have you expanded to newer, areas in South Florida to pick up more business or new business?
No. Personally, I just like the market that I work in, and I think it gives me a competitive advantage to stay hyper-local. I respect the agents that are moving into other markets and expanding, but I love being able to walk to a showing, take my golf cart to a showing. I really enjoy just being in my niche marketplace and don't feel the need to go into Broward or Palm Beach County.
What about luxury condo developments? Like, are you all working on any deals at new projects that are underway, or do you primarily only focus on resales?
We work a lot of the new projects. All of us on our team right now currently have deals in many of the different ones. We just closed one in Aston Martin, and we have them at Vita, all these, the new surf club. I think that you have to stay informed with what's available and then what's new, because a lot of people want that. And it's some people who don't need something right away actually enjoy the fact that they don't have to close for 2, 3, 4 years. It gives them time to organize things in their life. So I would always show that to them in addition to what's already here.
Yeah, and I think right now inventory is so low, it is just another option. I think not enough people explore that. I know our team has had a lot of success getting people into new construction, and they'll find a rental or they'll figure out their lifestyle, but just inventory is so bad that really the best option quite often is not even out of the ground yet.
Riley, you had mentioned that you are seeing that in Coconut Grove with Park Grove and Grover Gambay and some of those new projects. What about Mr. C? I know that was recently completed.
Yeah, so Mr. C's just finished, just got delivered. I think I checked yesterday, about 200 units in the building. About 40 of them already came back on the market for resale in less than a month. So it's been a pretty robust resale market there. But they just delivered all of their products. I think they've closed about 80% of them. Now we have Four Seasons coming to Coconut Grove, and Four Seasons, when they plant your flag in your neighborhood, you know you've arrived. So the Grove has come a long way since I started 25 years ago.
What are some of the other IT buildings, like in Miami Beach?
Well, needless to say, the Surf Club is probably the most IT building. I have actually just taken on a new development project called the Mansions on Fisher Island, and we will have single-family homes that start at $30 million and up. And if anyone has buyers for Fisher Island, please do reach out.
I think south of it, the Continuum is still holding its own. Definitely the Surf Club in Surfside, and the new building, the Surf Club next to it. St. Regis is doing, I think, well in Brickell. There's some brands. The new construction project in Brickell, St. Regis. Okay. Pre-construction is still, the label brands, they're really selling. I mean, there's a lot of product out there, so some of the buyers find that there's an edge when they have a brand.
You asked that before, Catherine, about branding. Does that help? And it really does with these buildings, because people identify with the Four Seasons at the Surf Club, or, all the brands that go with it, like Amman, where they've bought something or lived there before and they're very comfortable there and they feel that their money is safe there. And so branding has really helped, whereas 20 years ago, there was no such thing as a branded building, Yeah,
now we have 24, probably more. Yeah. What are your buyers demanding now? And how has that changed since maybe the pandemic frenzy?
A deal.
deal.
They're demanding a deal, right? Buyers now want to feel like they're getting some value, whereas during the pandemic, they were just, I'll take it. Where do I sign?
I also think buyers today would really like brand new construction or a home that's been renovated already. They don't want to take the time. And if it's furnished beautifully, last few deals I've done, they actually bought the home and the furniture. And one of them wasn't even their furniture. It was a staging company that had a package that they bought. I think they just want to start living right away.
I think, in the Grove of the Gables, we see maybe a slightly different luxury buyer where they're looking at a little more privacy, a little bit more quieter, understated, elegance kind of buyers. And some of our gated communities don't have much flash. You wouldn't even know where they are. And I think that's kind of where they can walk out their front door and walk through town and nobody really recognizes them and knows who they are. So we're seeing a little bit more of the understated luxury, I think, in the Grove right now.
I think some of the buyers have been asking about insurance as well. Obviously, costs have risen up considerably. Coconut Grove is somewhat immune from it because the NGDV is so much higher for base flood elevation. I think the new wave of new construction that you're seeing in Miami Beach throughout the islands with the new understory homes, they're not so much 3 stories, but they have the understory with about an 8-foot clearance below the slab. So the buyers have been looking at those homes, seeing additional value because not many of them have sold, but it gives you additional parking, storage for all kinds of things, and a spa.
And to touch a little bit on what Jill said, I think the buyer that wants the ultimate trophy property, which tends to be new construction on the water, facing west with exceptional finishes, that buyer is not expecting a deal. That buyer is probably going to pay whatever it takes to lock that house down, and the David Beckham sale that everyone's still buzzing about is certainly a good example of that. Though none of us did it.
But that was close to $5,500 a square foot, which shows you, the recent sales in single-family homes, new construction were at $5,000. Now they've pushed up. I mean, even when the market slowed down this year, the surf club and Surfside, it went up to 6,000 square foot and keeps pushing. There's no inventory.
How has the election affected deal velocity, and do you kind of expect now that some sales will pick back up?
I mean, I think it hurt inventory in the last month or so. I was just talking to some of the vendors here, the staging companies telling me how busy they are now. I think a lot of people just said, why go a month early? Let's wait and come on after. We're all here. The world hasn't ended, so let's hope the season starts today.
Yeah, do you have any season predictions or?
I think there's so much investment already inherent in Miami, all the downtown projects, all the buildings. There's like 6 or 7 office towers coming out of the ground. Nothing of that is going to change. I think inherently the local government, Carver, is way more important on what they're doing with traffic and addressing schools. We have a far more important local problems than what's going to happen nationally.
Well, the stock market went up today, and if it keeps like that, people are going to feel that they want to spend and they feel comfortable spending. And I think the real estate market is one of the biggest indicators of the health of our country. We are so high up on the pinnacle of what's going on. So if our market stays strong, the rest of the market will too. And if the stock market does, we reflect each other.
I also wanted to ask about the changes that came as a result of the National Association of Realtors settlement in the class action litigation. Are you coming across sellers who don't want to pay buyer's agents, and what is your response to that? What do you do in those situations?
I mean, we haven't come across very many. Most of them, when you talk to them and explain it to them, it's part of the marketing package, right? I think if you look at it that way and you just look at what is your bottom line and not worry about that, it's just another expense in marketing your home. And so far in the Gables and the Grove, we have seen a handful that have offered discounts, but most are still 2.5% or 3% is what we're seeing.
I think that's what we're telling our sellers, which is, the brokerage community, the clients, people, everyone's aware of what's going on right now, and that it's to their advantage for the buyers because the buyers know exactly what is being paid and they don't want to come out of pocket to do it. So it's advantageous for the seller to offer, like you're saying, 2.5%, 3%. And I haven't had anyone not do it. I've only had one person tell me that their seller is offering 0.
Has the property sold?
It did.
But I think, Catherine, at the end of the day, the buyer's agreement, I don't know about you guys, but for my team, it's a blessing in disguise. Now you have an agreement. You have it just like on the listing side. So you have,
I agree.
Now you're partners with them. They're not running around talking to 5 different people. And if they don't sign the paper, you don't waste your time with them. And I think that's a huge game changer for our business. And I think agents out there, you just have to get comfortable having the conversation and really knowing your value. But once you get them to sign the paper, you're in a whole different place than we used to be a few years ago, where they were talking to 5 brokers at any given time.
And if they are, you know about it right away, and you could say goodbye, good luck.
Yeah. For me, I'm definitely struggling with all the new bureaucracy that comes with this legislation. I do feel lucky to have the support of my broker, Judith. She's been amazing because one week it's this form and the next week it's that form, and now we're signing this, and now we're checking this box. Like, I definitely feel a little overwhelmed by it. I agree with my colleagues that there's definitely a lot of benefit to it, especially in making sure buyers are, going to be not wasting our times. But it certainly has been, I feel it's been a big transition. As far as commissions, I do see them impacted a bit. I'm not seeing them as much as even as 2.5 to 3, but more, let's call it 2.25 to 2.5. And maybe that's because at the higher price points, that's always been expected. The one seller that told me that they did not wish to pay a buyer's broker, I passed on the listing because I just didn't want to get calls from these people saying, sorry, there's nothing for you, and just start that precedent that would trickle down. So
I don't think anything's really changed, because on a $15 or $20 million sale, everyone was always negotiating the commissions anyway. If you couldn't breach the gap on the deal, I think there's a little bit more bureaucracy and way more paperwork. I think that it's able to, I've had some resistance from buyers that are coming into the market, and they're asking about what commissions are being paid. So they're already asking me what I'm getting paid before I've even shown them around. And there's resistance on some of the forms because their attorneys are $1,500 an hour. They're going to review these 2 or 3 page forms, so they're reluctant to sign. But on the whole, listen, if the seller's not paying it and I'm paying it, I'm just going to reduce the price of my offer. So it's the same anyway.
So those conversations before you start touring or before you take them somewhere, how are those going? Like, are you?
But you know what? I was just thinking when they were talking is that all of us have to do it. It's not like, oh, okay, just the people on Miami Beach are doing this, or the Grove's only doing it. It's like the United States of America is doing this. So it's not like you're having a conversation with that person that they haven't had before, especially now. So they're fully informed and aware of that conversation. So it's like anything in life, practice makes perfect. So at the beginning, it was like, how do we say that? It seems so weird and I'm not comfortable. And then after you do it over and over again, you say, okay, I'm comfortable with this. And I think we're all getting more comfortable with the paperwork and what goes on with that. Hopefully that will be streamlined.
yeah, I mean, it's still like a little bit of a wild, wild west scenario. I had a buyer the other week saying, okay, your commission's going to be capped at this. And I'm saying, but wait, the seller's paying more. Why would I want to be capped when the seller's offering a normal fee? And his position was, no, if you want to work with me, this is the max you can make. And I just couldn't rectify it, because if the seller is paying this, basically any other broker can go sell the house, or I can go sell the house to any other buyer and make the fee that's being offered. But if I agree to work with this one buyer, I'm being capped. So there are these nuances that are coming out of the legislation that I don't think were intended, but people who really want to find a loophole or grasp onto something are going for it. So I still think there's a big learning curve.
Okay, so how many residential real estate agents do we have in the crowd? What advice do you have to them? What's your best piece of advice?
I would follow Dina. Stay in an area where you can locally get around, especially with increased traffic. The time is the most valuable thing you have. Network, get in touch with the owners in that area and really go after listings. I think there will be a number of buyers around in the future, and a lot of buyers, and there's not going to be that many listings. So if you can get the listings, you're going to stay in business and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think now's the time to double down on your database and really show them your value. I think, it's been a rough 2 years probably in general for a lot of us, but I do think, times are coming. I think right now, the more people you get on your bus, I think, it's gonna be pretty fantastic 25 in my opinion. So to me, it's just having many, do what all of us hate to do, is pick up the phone and call your clients.
I agree with what Julian and Riley said, and Dina's going to say. I mean, honestly, doing things like this, because everyone has a decision every day. Do I get up? Do I go to this? Do I not? Do I stay home? Oh, no business. Do I go out? Business. And it's just keep doing the things you love, whatever your hobbies are, whatever is fun for you. Network with other agents. I think that's huge. And also, if you have an opportunity to get a big listing and you're not there yet, take someone in your office with you so you can get it, you can get that experience, and eventually you'll have it on your own. And you just have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And listen, we're all in the magic city of Miami, so there's business here. There's a lot for all of us, really.
I think strategic partnerships are important. Maybe you do have an opportunity in a market that's 45 minutes or an hour and a half away, and you don't want to pass that by. It could be that $20 or $30 million listing. So partnering up with someone who is based in that area will help you beat the objection on the listing appointment of, well, wait, hey, you live an hour and a half away, and also give you support if there's a last-minute showing. So I do think that for strategic partnerships can go a long way to break into that top end of the marketplace, which is, I guess, actually the name of our panel.
Would you suggest joining a team? I know obviously some of you have large teams, Riley and
Yes, definitely. Give me a call at Compass anytime.
How many agents are on your team?
We are at 37 today, so
Okay.
we're probably looking to grow it. We're looking for anybody that wants to put the work in. So.
Okay, I do want to open it up to the audience if anyone has any questions. We have the experts here. Let's see. Can we get John? Can we get Sorry, that was a little impromptu, unplanned. Pass it back. You, Alexander.
Thank you very much. Alexander Zakharin, Seekers, New York. Speaking of strategic partnership, feel free to send your clients to us. We'll take care of them, give you a lot of commission. Question for you guys. You work with top 1% sellers and clients. What is like the main thing that no one else knows but you do since you work with them? How are they like people? How do you work with them? It's like maybe something that you learned that like you could share this like mind-blowing, and like only these specific people do that this way. Thank you.
I mean, I'll go first. I think it's just mostly be yourself, find your own tribe. In every market, there are people who are attracted to different people. We're all, four of us do our business very differently here. But if you know who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, and you get up on stage in shorts and flip-flops, you'll find your tribe.
I think Riley's right. The sellers that we're working with, each of them have different needs. Some of them, if they call at 9 o'clock at night, they want you to pick up right away. And others are like, they expect okay to call the next day, but then they're going to spend an hour at lunch and they want to talk to you. I think it's meeting their needs and listening to what's going on, and not being too pushy at the moment because the market is a little slow, but really educating them on what's going on, because there are a few off-market sales and there's a few trends in emerging areas like Miami Shores, and so these areas that weren't looked at hard before. People are looking for value in those areas. So there's things you can mention to them that really make you useful to them.
I can tell you that I think, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I think knowledge is tremendous power. So wherever it is, know that market where that person's calling you from. And a lot of times you have a heads up, like someone's calling you and you know they're calling it about a particular thing. Before you call back, learn, study, be able to have a very easy conversation where you know what sold there, what hasn't sold, price per foot, more or less, and what's available. Speak to people, maybe what's not on market, what's on market, because they're educated and they're used to going to people who are professionals. So if you can have that conversation, and then there's things you don't know, just say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And then you find out and you get it to them. I think that builds on that relationship probably with anyone, but especially the people you're asking about. They're expecting you to be very knowledgeable.
I want to touch a little bit on what Riley said, because I agree, there is not an agent for every person, right? Everyone has their own needs and tastes and whatnot. And there may be that buyer that says, I only want to work with the top agent in town, and they're only going to work with Jill. You know, and there may be that agent. Yes.
Getting there,
we're in the middle of a deal, so we're like extra nice to each other. But there may be those clients that, hey, they want someone, you know, a little bit less busy, or maybe someone who's a newer agent to whom that commission is really going to be life-changing. And oftentimes we see an agent that does a huge deal, and you look to see, and it's not Dora, and it's not Nelson, and someone like, you know. So there's so much opportunity, and it's just important to stay positive and know that, you know, the business is out there.
And I think it's really important that you project out to whatever market you are, that you are the knowledge broker of that market. I think that's what Jill was saying. That's been my whole career is, you know, I'm an inch wide and a mile deep and really know my market very well. And I think they're all attracted to whatever segment of the market they're looking for. They're looking for someone who is putting out there to the world that they really know the market inside and out.
If you do expand a little, I just took a listing in Coconut Grove and I worked hard to get the listing, and as soon as I got it, I called Riley and I said, what do you think we can sell this together for? Because he's an expert in the area. And I listed it for $39 million, and it's going to take some work, but you know, they bring a lot of knowledge when you're going outside your area, so don't be afraid to call one of us. We're happy to help.
Can you hear me? Okay. Are you often hearing from, you know, the billionaires, multimillionaires directly? Are you getting cold calls? I'm curious.
For me, when I get contacted by them, it's usually from a relationship. There's someone that I knew that they knew that suggests my name. And, you know, that first hello is very important, that you communicate, you respond, you do what you say, you're knowledgeable. But it's usually from either you knew them or someone you knew.
Some kind of connection.
I don't think they really cold call.
No, it's mostly relationship driven, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Anyone else? Is anybody? Okay, we have a few more. Two more, okay.
No, it's on. Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to ask you about the area Edgewater. What do you think about this area? And also about the pre-construction area Edgewater.
Aren't you with Aria? Yeah, you work in there, right?
I think you're outing her.
Yes.
Close, she says.
It's great. I mean, Edgewater is a really nice area. It's super close to the Design District. It's close to the Venetian Islands and Sunset Harbor. Yeah, it's a vibe.
I think it's become its own neighbourhood now, although I do think there is a lot of inventory. In particular, we've been mentioning not a lot of inventory. Edgewater's starting to see quite a bit more, but there are some quality buildings there, and it's a great walking lifestyle once you live there.
Yeah, I can't help you there, out of my golf cart range.
I think it's every year it's getting stronger there. I mean, I remember when people first built there, it was, you know, not considered an area that was walkable, which someone here just said. But now you go down there and it has a whole different vibe. So I think it's coming into its own.
All right, great. Well, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.